Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley, and at the EGX Res presentation, CA talked about sieges, so we're going to see a bit more gameplay this time. It's going to be featuring Chaos versus the Vampire Count, so an interesting matchup of evil versus evil, and this is going to be in the backdrop of some presentation of how they're dicing or rethinking the sieges. So I just wanted to stop the video here real briefly to see some of the units. On the bottom it looks like we could see a zombie dragon, kind of some of the first times we get a nice shot of it. Obviously this isn't the closest action we're getting, but there you see it, and obviously in the backdrop you see the Chaos Warriors moving up. We're going to get to see some Hell Cannons and all that. The city itself is rather spacious, in keeping with CA's general plans for sieges. Chaos is mostly deploying from out here, and as you can see just from the very start of the battle, siege towers are going to be within range. Still not sure how I feel about that. It could be annoying, and all of them are firing away in unison. Units not really taking too much damage. And then I wanted to stop it here just to analyze a bit of the city layout. Again, it's keeping to the idea that this is very, very simple. The walls are linear, at least this time it does have a corner, and Chaos is attacking from two sides and a bit of a pincer. Yeah, the rest of this video, or most of the presentation, they talk about the city repeated tiles. So we'll go into that in a little bit. Now we're going to be focusing on gameplay. So Chaos is moving out, and this looks beautiful. Just wanted to freeze this here with the imposing Bretonia castles, vampire castles in the distance. Just looks really cool. Obviously, they've put a lot of detail and time into molding these backdrops for the cities, and yes, it looks like the lore. But again, the main gripe is that it doesn't affect gameplay at all. It's just a backdrop. As the siege towers move up, we already know that siege towers, obviously can be destroyed, but that each siege tower has its own visuals based off the faction. So the Chaos ones looking pretty cool. I was hoping they would be a little bit more, Chaos corrupted, almost like living, having tentacles or demonic spawn on them. But still, this is pretty badass, especially as you're going to see here as it comes forward and it disembarks on the walls. It's going to have the drawbridge that slams down, and it looks like CA has decided to put a lot more of these kind of shaking and smoke effects. You'll see that multiple times during the siege, and it's kind of a way to add a bit more to the epicness, but also it covers a little bit of the it provides some cover for some graphics that are otherwise a little bit spotty. So usually when units charge out of a siege tower, it looks a little weird and gimmicky, and so now they've kind of obscured that a bit with the cloud, and I think it does a good job. Another time that they do that is going to be later on when you see a wall get destroyed. They've instead decided to throw up, smoke clouds, but we'll get to that. And then Chaos Troll moving forward. We're going to revisit this specific sequence in the future, but just note that the Chaos Troll can target not walls, but gates, and so it's going to come in there and try and smash the gate. In the distance, in the background, we can see a zombie dragon actually moving around, but we don't get to see too much action for it. So here the AI is going to be prioritizing attacking the gate, whereas the other troops are going to be going up on the right side. And I really like the look of this. The gates are huge and imposing, but a giant coming in and smacking against it's going to be really cool. It's doing 5% of damage at a time, so it'll take 20 hits to take it out. And then here the AI showing that it knows how to use Sorcerer. So Sorcerer just runs up real quick, gets this flaming attack off into the city, and then retreats. So it's cool to see that you do need to get pretty close to use your your caster abilities on the city itself in order for it to take effect. So that'll be a bit nerfed. I'm glad to see the AI knows how to use it. And then finally we get to see the Hell Cannons in action. 3 of them clustered up. We saw them before, but never really this close, and when they're firing, they look super cool. Just kind of, you could see they're barely containing the energy that's within them. They're shaking, jostling, and finally when they fire their bolts, it's like a huge release of energy, and just the animations is awesome. They're all clustered up like that, which makes it a little easy to counter battery them. We'll again go into why the AI is doing this. Then when we go back to the inside of the gate, I love the animations for the gate breaking, really swinging forward, and then it reveals whatever's been attacking on the inside. So I like that, more cinematic than we saw previously. Could be because it's high fantasy as well, because now we have a giant troll greeting you at the gates as opposed to just some warriors. But this looks cool. And then the AI prioritizing swarming in with knights and quick units, knowing that it needs to throw those quickly into the gap. And so those guys are coming through. Zombie dragon off to the right, coming back from the battle. And then what we're going to be seeing on the left is actually some new units that we haven't seen before. Chaos Spawn. God, these beasts look super scary. Really, really cool dudes. So you can see them tearing it up there. I'd be interested to see what kind of super special kill animations they have, but unfortunately they do cut away. And then this is what I was talking about earlier. The siege wall has been destroyed, and they kind of cover it up with this smoke, and then all of a sudden the wall has been cut in half and blown up. But it doesn't have that crumbling animation that we saw before, so I think that's kind of unfortunate. Now, it looked okay because they covered it up with the smoke effects, but I really hope that it doesn't become too obvious that that's the case, because the smoke is just covering up something that goes basically from being a complete wall to being a huge hole without that intermediate crumbling phase. So that to me was a little bit of a letdown. Perhaps it's helping them run the engine a little better. I'm not quite sure. But anyways, now that was the main gameplay that they showed off. Now we're going to talk a bit about what they revealed about the AI. So first they discussed how, okay, we have the city layouts here, and they have decided to make city layouts simpler. That's something that has pros and cons that we'll be going into. But basically, the game designers and programmers can define, okay, this is the city, and then they break up different areas, courtyards and whatnot, and then the AI is able to assess which areas are highest priority. It knows which areas are it can yield, or which areas are within range of, the attacker's skirmish fire, so it might pull out of that. So they spent a lot of time talking about how the settlement graphs and things like this is making it much easier for them to program the AI. Then in terms of controlling the AI, knowing what the AI should do, previously the AI made decisions based off what type of unit it was. So is it an infantry unit? Is it a spearman? Is it a horse force? Is it skirmisher? Is it artillery? They said using that same mentality would not be possible because of all the added units. And so what they fell back on was actually flagging units based off what they're good at. So for example, if you're going to be attacking the gates, there would be a certain unit that is flagged as a gate crusher. So that might be a monstrous infantry. It might be any unit that's capable of taking out gates. So that could be miners and stuff like that. And then another thing they said is the AI kind of tackles its objectives a bit differently. So when you're attacking a gate, it kind of goes this way. A group of units will form up, and so they will then form up, move in unison, attack, or relinquish that position. So what's happening here is this is a group that has a tactical objective of attacking the gatehouse. So it sends forward a giant and then an accompanying infantry unit here to support it. I think the use of groups to attack positions is very important, especially as we'll see later. When you have supporting units, if the artillery is moving up, it's always going to have supporting units like infantry or skirmishers around it. But here, the AI is able to prioritize that, what's better at attacking the gate? Well, obviously the giant is. So it diverts from within this attacking group. The giant's going to go for the gate, and then the infantry are going to go for the walls and try and take out the gate from this ancillary position. So I thought that was kind of cool, the way the AI thinks through it. It was nice to see that detail fleshed out a little bit more. So the wall assault tactics, again, the AI is going to have to make a judgment. Okay, which units do I want to use? So like I was saying previously, units are flagged by, what they're good at, not what type of unit, but what they're good at. So are they good at flanking? Are they good at assaulting? So for a wall assault, you can imagine it's going to select the units that are good at assaulting, and it's going to select the units that are good at perhaps range. So the tools for doing this wall assault tactic are going to be the siege towers. It says excellent brackets around that because the AI is going to prioritize that, and then ladders afterwards. And then if there's a wall breach, basically what they're going to do is they're going to send missile units to destroy this section of the wall, and then they're going to pour more fire into this. And an important thing is the logic behind this that I was mentioning previously, where it's going to first form up, and so it's going to grab a group of units. So it's going to grab first the artillery piece or whatever long-range missile unit it needs to take out the walls, and then also some supporting units. Those units as a whole are going to then advance, fire on the position, and then they're going to exploit the entry position. So I'm going to cut away to the video where it does show them doing that. So for instance here, this is a unit that's completely tasked with taking out that section of the wall. But mind you, only one unit is actively involved in doing that. That's going to be the hell cannons. But Other units are stationed around it with that same objective, but they don't, you know, they're tasked with taking out the wall, but they're not going to be standing next to the wall. They're instead going to be protecting the unit that's taking out the wall. So that is a very big change compared to what we've seen previously, where most of the time it leaves the artillery vulnerable to being ninja attacked. So I thought this was a really cool change, although it does force units to be clustered and susceptible to these counter volleys, which at first I thought was really dumb, but looking at how the AI is looking to defend these positions, I think it's really cool to have clusters of self-sufficient units forming up and together trying to push forward and attack a wall, for instance. So here they're all shooting at the wall. And there are other units moving around elsewhere with other tasks, like we saw previously, taking on the gates and whatnot. And then once it has destroyed the wall, and once a breach has been created, the AI then knows it wants to exploit that hole in the wall. So the next thing that you see immediately happen is going to be actually cavalry charging forward. So the AI knows it wants to get troops in there that are good at landing a big charge. And so cavalry is going to be almost always the first one into the breach, or other heavy-hitting shock troops. Now I can imagine that would be susceptible to being exploited, because you know they're always going to send in cavalry or shock troops, so you always want to put spearmen. But then again, I don't see why you wouldn't have spearmen. You know, it's sensical to put your heavy shock troops coming in first as the attacker, and as a defender, always put your highest defensive units first. So I think we'll see if that's exploitable, but for the most part, it looked pretty good. Anyways, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. See you in the next one.